have told me that my first video upon coming back to YouTube following Comic-Con would be a video talking about AI and Doctor Who, then I'd have called you a madman. But that's what we're talking about today. So, if you haven't been sort of following the internet discourse for the last few days, it was announced that they were going to be using AI as an experiment for certain bits of marketing material, most explicitly Doctor Who. And we do actually have an example of this being used in the latest Doctor Who email, which was written with the assistance of AI. And this has led to a lot of conversations surrounding the ethics of use of AI and stuff like that, and its relation to Doctor Who specifically. And I wanted to try and be fair here, and not just say AI bad and end the video, because yeah, those takes are out there, and they're obvious. AI takes away jobs from people, from hardworking people. We all know this. I wanted to come at this from somewhat of a level-headed perspective, and just try and break down what's being said, and see what I think about it. So subscribe if you're new, that'd be greatly appreciated. This wasn't the type of video that I wanted to be making, that I was expecting to be making on my return, but sometimes when you've got lemons, you just gotta make lemonade, and I just wanted to talk about this because I think it's interesting. BBC is experimenting with generative AI to promote Doctor Who. Doctor Who Season 14 will debut on screens in May of 2024. The BBC has announced it will experiment with generative AI for the promotion of Doctor Who, so I probably should at least give some of the novices in the audience kind of a crash course in what AI tech these days even is. Essentially, AI can be used to generate text based on pre-existing works, and same goes for things like images and now video as well. It's essentially like a learning algorithm, as I understand it, that takes things that it knows and basically recreates them in new forms. And this has kind of led to a massive kind of discussion around the rights of the artist in this situation. If these programs can be coded to basically train themselves on the works of thousands of real people, what are the creators' rights in that in terms of the original art? And also beyond that, on a more philosophical level, what does this mean for the future of art? If we could just type anything into a computer and then it will generate something for us. Now, obviously, a lot of the stuff that's been generated so far has not been good, which has led to a lot of very funny meme material. But over time, AI, even just in the last few months, is getting progressively more advanced. And we are now at the point where, yes, it is going to be used, or has been used, I should say, in official Doctor Who promotional material. So now we're all up to speed on AI, let's just see what they say about it. The broadcaster has announced it will be creating a human-written marketing copy for a Doctor Who push notification email, subject line, and in the promotion reel on BBC Search before using generative AI to suggest the alternate copy. This will be reviewed and approved by the BBC's marketing team before being shown to audiences to promote the Whoniverse collection on iPlayer. And I believe this email has already been sent out. I'll have a look at that in a sec. David Houston, I hope I'm saying that right, head of media inventory at the BBC, said, experimentation is at the heart of how we approach marketing at the BBC. Testing and learning on how we let audiences know what BBC content is most relevant to them and we know they might love underpins our digital marketing strategy. However, experimentation in marketing typically requires more time spent on creative work to make extra assets. Generative AI offers a great opportunity to speed up making the extra assets to get more experiments live for more content that we are trying to promote. He continued, we are going to be taking it one step at a time, starting simple and learning as we go. We have chosen to start with Doctor Who as it is a joint content priority of both BBC Public Service UK and BBC Studios marketing teams. There's a rich variety of content in the Whoniverse collection on iPlayer to test and learn with. And Doctor Who thematically lends itself to AI, which is a bonus. The success of the AI generative copy will be measured by click rates, open rates, and post-impression conversion rates across each channel. And then they basically just go on to talk about some spiel about when Season 1 premieres in 2024, yada yada yada, shooting out with 50th Doctor, etc. So there's quite a few things I want to break down here. The one that a lot of people have kind of focused in on is the idea that Doctor Who lends itself thematically to AI, which, for any of you who've actually seen Doctor Who for more than 5 seconds, is a pretty dubious statement at best.
Well, at least on Gallifrey we can capture a good likeness. Computers can draw.
What?
Computer pictures. You sit in Paris and talk of computer pictures. Listen, I'll take you somewhere and show you some real paintings painted by real people.
The end point of capitalism. Bottom line, where human life has no value at all. We're fighting an algorithm.
Oh, that's quite simple. I hate computers and refuse to be bullied by them.
So, this is a pretty wild statement. I get what they're trying to say. Doctor Who as a sci-fi based property lends itself to AI more than, I don't know, Call the Midwife. But it does run pretty counter to the themes of Doctor Who, unless you count, like, Kablam, I guess, in which case it fits right in. I mean, one of the most famous villains in Doctor Who is literally a race of, essentially, humans who erase their humanity in order to become better, and one of their most recent episodes involved duplicates of our favourite characters that weren't quite right. Their arms were too long in particular, and their faces were off, which I'm sure has no real-world parallels to AI whatsoever. But the thing I find more concerning about this spiel from the head of Media Infantry is what is said down here, where it says, however, experimentation in marketing typically requires more time spent on creative work to make extra assets. Generative AI offers us a great opportunity to speed up making the extra assets to get more experiments live for more content that we are trying to promote. That's the bit that I don't like, because it's pretty blatantly saying that they can hire less people to do less work and just get an AI to do it. And I obviously don't like the precedent of that. Not only for the simple fact that we're in a cost of living crisis, people are struggling to work, and already creative fields are massively difficult to penetrate, not only in the UK but globally, but also just for the fact that whilst AI can, to a certain degree, recreate things that it knows, and this is going to sound super corny, it can never have the soul of human-made work. For a piece of literature or media to have a profound impact on you, it doesn't need to be Shakespeare, right? It doesn't need to be the books that you study in your English classes. It could be something as simple as the little yellow text box that were in early Stan Lee comic books, where he'd talk to you like he was your fun granddad. Or, for a Doctor Who example, the Letter from the Showrunner segments, written by Russell T Davies, in which he injects so much of his own personal voice as a creative into those pieces. And that is something that AI simply cannot replicate. It cannot replicate the human experience because it is incapable of experiencing things on its own. It can only regurgitate the experiences other people have had. And this might sound small at first. You know, it's an email for basically what is a puff promotional piece. But even the most light and inconsequential pieces of promo material do have merit and can be really good. I remember as a kid reading a lot of the kind of Doctor Who encyclopedias, which, you know, aren't exactly the most profound pieces of media ever conceived, but the way those things were written was interesting to me. I remember there was one where it was essentially a diary told from the perspective of the Doctor, and he goes over all of his different incarnations and enemies, and there's some really fun in-jokes in there, and different explanations of how all the different regenerations look different. It's clearly written by a fan who's passionate about the show. And stuff like that you just don't get from an AI. So my points against this are kind of twofold. On the one hand, it just takes away jobs from people in a field that's already difficult to access, and another being that you cannot replicate human emotion and human experience within a machine, and even these small things, like promotional things, can be fun and can be endearing and can be lovely. Something doesn't need to be groundbreaking to be a piece of creative work. And I guess my other point is that whilst this may only be emails right now, it can escalate to more because AI trains itself on smaller things before eventually becoming more advanced. And I don't want AI-written Doctor Who, personally. Luckily for us, though, it seems like the BBC may be U-turning on this. I originally found this out from Matthew Purchase, who said, update, the link to the article is dead. Looks like they've listened and changed their mind. So yeah, the original BBC article announcing this, which I am using the Radio Times article as a basis for, has now been deleted, which implies that this decision could well be being walked back, and I sincerely hope that's the case. One final thing I wanted to address, though, before I head off, is something that I've seen not only with regards to this situation, but a plethora of situations where I see a lot of Doctor Who fans take opportunities like this to basically point at whoever's the current showrunner of Doctor Who at the time and kind of go, see, look at how bad insert guy is. He's the one who allowed AI to be used in Doctor Who promo material. He's the one that's led Disney to be in the creative process of Doctor Who. And I hate to break it to you guys, the Doctor Who showrunner doesn't have that much control over corporate stuff like that. A Doctor Who showrunner has more input creatively than a lot of other people in an industry, but that input is still ultimately limited to the creative field, and even then, nothing makes it to screen that is fully just the one creator's singular vision. There's always input, because production is a collaborative process. But when it comes to things like corporate decisions, like the BBC trying to roll out an AI initiative, I highly doubt the showrunner has any real impact over that. Just because something goes up on the Doctor Who website doesn't automatically mean that Russell T Davies or Chris Chibnall or Stephen Moffat or whoever's in charge at the time is like scanning every article that goes up, because they've got other things to do. I just find it so frustrating when something like this happens, and as a fandom I think we do this thing where, because the showrunner is the forward-facing person that we the public deal with, it's very easy to just kind of lump everything that you don't like onto them, when oftentimes they probably had nothing to do with it. Like, I've seen people blame Russell for the Disney deal, despite the fact that they've been very open in saying the BBC were negotiating with streamers long before Russell even entered the picture. And I've seen people back in the day blame Stephen Moffat for Paul McGann not being in the 50th, despite the fact that that seems to be more of a BBC decision than his own. My point is, just because the Doctor Who showrunners do have a lot of creative oversight, it doesn't mean that they're all powerful and they control everything, just because it has the words Doctor Who on it. But I just want to get that off my chest. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to give it a like, comment down below your thoughts on anything I discussed today. Please like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you later.